The Blizzard's Bride. The legend of the Blizzard's Bride was whispered in hushed tones around every fire in the small mountain town. Parents warned their children to stay indoors during snowstorms, while old-timers swore they'd seen her pale figure gliding between the trees, her veil of frost trailing behind her. They say she was jilted at the altar, one villager had told a young and skeptical Luke. Her groom left her standing in the snow, and the storm took her. Now she wanders, looking for someone to take her place. Luke scoffed at the tale every time it was told. At 19, he prided himself on his fearlessness. "It's just a ghost story," he declared one evening as a snowstorm gathered outside. "You'll see, I'll prove it." Ignoring the protests of his friends and family, Luke bundled himself up and ventured into the woods. The air was biting, the snow falling in thick, blinding sheets. His flashlight cut through the darkness, but the world around him seemed muffled, eerily silent except for the whisper of the wind. "Blizzard's Bride," he called out, his voice swallowed by the storm. "Where are you?" The wind picked up, and for a moment he thought he heard something, a faint, lilting melody. He turned, scanning the trees, but saw nothing. As he pressed deeper into the woods, the temperature seemed to drop even further. Frost clung to his lashes, his breath freezing in the air. Then he saw her. She stood in the clearing, her figure barely visible through the swirling snow. Her gown was tattered but eerily pristine, shimmering with frost. A veil of ice hung from her head, and her hands cradled a bouquet of frozen roses. Luke's bravado faltered as he took a step closer. Who are you?" he asked, though he already knew. The figure turned toward him, her face pale and beautiful, yet utterly lifeless. Her eyes were as cold as the storm itself, and when she smiled, it sent a chill down his spine. "You came for me," she said, her voice soft but echoing like the wind through the trees. Luke stammered, stepping back. "I didn't mean to." She extended a hand, her icy fingers glinting in the dim light. "You'll stay with me," she whispered, "forever." The snow around her swirled violently, and Luke felt the cold seep into his bones. He tried to run, but the ground beneath him froze solid, locking his feet in place. Her veil wrapped around him like a cocoon, the frost biting into his skin. The next morning, when the storm had passed, the search party found no trace of Luke. At the edge of the forest, they discovered a bouquet of frozen roses resting in the snow. Beside it was the faint impression of a woman's hand, her slender fingers reaching toward the town. The Blizzard's Bride had claimed another, and her legend grew ever colder.